History is a harsh teacher. It shows us that global conflicts, even world wars, are not anomalies. They are recurring patterns. Throughout history, certain factors have consistently pushed nations towards the brink. One factor is the rise of new powers. New players on the world stage often challenge the existing order. This can create friction and eventually conflict. Think of the rise of Germany before World War I or the Cold War tension between the United States and the Soviet Union. Another factor is nationalism. Extreme pride in one's nation can lead to a sense of superiority. This can make cooperation difficult and increase the risk of conflict. Nationalism played a significant role in both world wars. Finally, we cannot forget about economic competition. Nations often compete for resources, markets, and technological dominance. This competition can easily escalate into political disputes and even war. The drive for colonies was a major factor in the lead-up to World War I. These historical patterns are not destiny, however, they highlight the dangerous dynamics that can lead to global conflict. Understanding these patterns is crucial if we want to prevent history from repeating itself. The world today is a complex web of relationships. Unfortunately, many of these relationships are strained. Flashpoints, like embers waiting for a spark, exist across the globe. The relationship between the United States and China is one such flashpoint. These two superpowers are locked in a struggle for global influence. Economic competition, military build-ups, and technological rivalry fuel tensions between them. The status of Taiwan, a self-governing island claimed by China, is a particularly dangerous point of contention. Another flashpoint is the ongoing war in Ukraine. Russia's invasion of its neighbor has shattered European security. The conflict has drawn in NATO, raising the specter of a wider war. The possibility of the conflict escalating, perhaps even with the use of nuclear weapons, is a terrifying prospect. The Middle East remains a volatile region. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict continues to simmer with no easy solutions in sight. Iran's nuclear ambitions and its support for proxy groups across the region further complicate the situation. The potential for miscalculation or escalation in this region is high. These are just a few examples of the many challenges facing the world today. Each of these issues has the potential to ignite a larger conflict. As tensions rise and trust erodes, the risk of a global confrontation grows ever more real. In a potential World War III scenario, the world could be divided into several key actors and alliances. Understanding their motivations and capabilities is essential to grasping the potential dynamics of such a conflict. The United States, despite its waning influence, remains a global superpower. Its military might, technological prowess, and network of alliances make it a formidable force. However, the US is also grappling with internal divisions and a sense of weariness after years of foreign interventions. China, on the other hand, is a rising power. Its rapidly growing economy, expanding military, and assertive foreign policy have put it on a collision course with the US. China seeks to reclaim its historical position of dominance in Asia and beyond. Russia, under Vladimir Putin, yearns to restore its lost empire. Its actions in Ukraine demonstrate its willingness to use military force to achieve its objectives. Russia's nuclear arsenal and its close ties with China make it a dangerous wild card on the world stage. Beyond these major players, other actors could be drawn into a global conflict. NATO, a military alliance led by the US, would likely be involved in any conflict with Russia. The European Union, though economically powerful, lacks a unified military force and might struggle to play a decisive role. In the Asia-Pacific region, Japan, South Korea, and Australia are key US allies. India, with its growing economy and military, would be a crucial player, although its stance in a US-China conflict remains uncertain. The potential alliances and rivalries of these actors would shape the course of any future conflict. Understanding their motivations and capabilities is crucial to navigating the complex geopolitical landscape of the 21st century. While predicting the exact trigger of a global conflict is impossible, several scenarios could ignite the flames of World War III. These scenarios highlight the precariousness of the current geopolitical climate. A Chinese invasion of Taiwan is perhaps the most worrisome scenario. Beijing views Taiwan as a breakaway province and has vowed to reunite it with the mainland by force if necessary. Such an invasion would almost certainly draw in the US and its allies, potentially triggering a wider conflict in the Pacific. A Russian miscalculation in its war against Ukraine could also spiral into a global confrontation. An attack on a NATO member, even if unintentional, would trigger Article 5 of the alliance's treaty, requiring a collective military response. This could quickly escalate into a wider war between Russia and the West. An accidental clash between US and Chinese forces in the South China Sea is another potential flashpoint. With both countries conducting military exercises and patrols in the region, the risk of an unintended collision or miscalculation is high. Such an incident could quickly escalate into a full-blown conflict, fueled by mistrust and nationalist fervor. These are just a few of the many potential triggers for a global conflict. The interconnectedness of the modern world means that seemingly isolated events can have far-reaching consequences. As tensions rise and the risk of miscalculation grows, the world teeters on a precipice. Section 5. The nuclear shadow, a terrifying possibility. No discussion about the likelihood of World War III is complete without addressing the elephant in the room: nuclear weapons. The destructive power of these weapons is unmatched, and their use would have catastrophic consequences for humanity. The world currently possesses over 12,000 nuclear warheads, most of which belong to the United States and Russia. While both countries have reduced their arsenals since the Cold War, the risk of nuclear war remains a terrifying reality. The ongoing conflict in Ukraine, with Russia's veiled threats of nuclear escalation, has brought this danger into sharp focus. The use of even a single nuclear weapon would be devastating. The immediate blast, firestorm, and radiation would kill millions. The long-term effects of nuclear fallout, including cancer and genetic mutations, would impact generations to come. Beyond the immediate damage, a nuclear war would likely trigger a nuclear winter. Smoke and debris from the explosions would block out the sun, causing global temperatures to plummet. This would lead to widespread crop failures, famine, and societal collapse. The very existence of nuclear weapons poses an existential threat to humanity. Leaders must prioritize nuclear disarmament and work towards a world free from these weapons of mass destruction. The alternative is too horrific to contemplate. Section 6. War among the stars, conflict in space. The battlefields of the future may extend beyond Earth's atmosphere. Space, once a realm of scientific exploration, is rapidly becoming militarized. This raises the specter of space warfare, adding a new dimension to the potential for global conflict. Satellites are essential to modern life. They provide communication, navigation, and surveillance capabilities that are crucial to both civilian and military operations. However, these satellites are vulnerable to attack. Anti-satellite weapons capable of disabling or destroying satellites are being developed by several countries. A conflict in space could cripple communication networks, disrupt financial transactions, and blind intelligence agencies. This could escalate tensions on Earth, potentially triggering a wider conflict. Furthermore, debris from destroyed satellites could create a cascade effect, destroying other satellites and making space unusable for generations. The international community must establish clear rules and norms for behavior in space. Preventing the militarization of space is crucial to avoiding a conflict that could have devastating consequences for humanity. Section 7. Predictions of war, expert opinions. While predicting the future is inherently uncertain, many experts believe that the risk of a major global conflict is higher today than at any point since the Cold War. Their assessments are based on the convergence of several alarming trends, including geopolitical rivalries, technological advancements, and the erosion of global norms. The Atlantic Council, a think tank focused on international affairs, surveyed over 160 experts on the likelihood of a major power war by 2035. A startling 40% of respondents predicted such a conflict, with many citing the US-China rivalry as the most likely flashpoint. These experts also expressed concerns about the potential use of nuclear weapons in a future conflict. A majority of those who predicted a major war also believed that nuclear weapons would be used, highlighting the terrifying stakes involved. These predictions are not meant to be alarmist, but rather a wake-up call. They highlight the urgent need for diplomacy, cooperation, and a renewed commitment to international order. The future of humanity may depend on our ability to heed these warnings. Section 8. The global aftermath, a world transformed. The consequences of a Third World War would be catastrophic and far-reaching. The very fabric of global society would be torn apart, leaving a world grappling with unimaginable suffering and the daunting task of rebuilding from the ashes. The immediate impact would be felt most acutely in the countries directly involved in the conflict. Cities would be reduced to rubble, economies would collapse, and millions would perish from the initial fighting, famine, and disease. The use of nuclear weapons would magnify these horrors exponentially, unleashing radioactive fallout and potentially triggering a nuclear winter. The global economy would be plunged into chaos. Supply chains would be disrupted, trade would grind to a halt, and financial markets would crash. The interconnectedness of the modern world, while a testament to globalization, would become a liability, transmitting economic shocks across borders with lightning speed. The social and political consequences would be equally profound. The international order, already strained, would likely collapse. Trust between nations would evaporate, replaced by suspicion and animosity. The world could descend into a new era of great power competition, characterized by instability, conflict, and the constant threat of annihilation. The human cost of such a conflict is almost too great to comprehend. Generations would bear the scars of war, both physical and psychological. The loss of life, the destruction of infrastructure, and the poisoning of the environment would leave an indelible mark on the planet. Confronting the possibility of such a bleak future is a sobering exercise. It underscores the urgency of pursuing peace, diplomacy, and cooperation as the only viable path forward for humanity. Section 9. Preventing Armageddon, a call for peace. The spectre of World War III looms large, a stark reminder of the fragility of peace and the devastating consequences of conflict. But while the dangers are real and pressing, they are not insurmountable. Humanity has the capacity to choose a different path, one that leads away from the abyss and towards a more peaceful and prosperous future. Preventing such a catastrophe demands a multifaceted approach, one that addresses the root causes of conflict and fosters a spirit of cooperation among nations. Diplomacy must be the cornerstone of this effort. Open and honest dialogue, even with adversaries, is essential to building trust, managing differences, and finding peaceful solutions to complex problems. This requires strong leadership, a willingness to compromise, and a shared understanding that the pursuit of peace requires patience, perseverance, and a commitment to seeing beyond narrow self-interest. Strengthening international institutions is another crucial step. Organizations like the United Nations, while imperfect, provide a forum for dialogue, mediation, and cooperation on a global scale. Empowering these institutions, reforming outdated structures, and upholding international law are essential to maintaining a rules-based order that benefits all nations. Addressing global challenges, such as climate change, poverty, and inequality, is also vital. These issues transcend borders, and their solutions require collective action. By working together to address these shared threats, nations can build trust, foster cooperation, and create a more just and equitable world that is less prone to conflict. Ultimately, preventing World War III is not just the responsibility of governments and international organizations. It is a call to action for every individual. By promoting understanding, tolerance, and empathy in our own communities, we contribute to a more peaceful world, one conversation, one act of kindness at a time. The path to peace is long and arduous, but it is a journey we must undertake together for the sake of our planet and future generations.